Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another edition of the Opposition Preview. First things first, guys, make sure you smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And on Sunday, it's a day that all Chelsea fans have been waiting for. The end of the season is finally coming. It's been a terrible one. The sooner we see the back of it, the better, but we've got a few days left now and then it will be done. It doesn't get any easier. Newcastle visiting Stamford Bridge. It's really going to be another loss. They're in fantastic form this season, secured Champions League football for the first time since the 2002-03 season under Eddie Howe. And I think it's probably exceeded expectations for Newcastle. But yeah, it's great to see them back at the top end of the Premier League because they are a massive club. And, you know, they've gone through so much heartache under Mike Ashley. And now they're kind of reaping the rewards of kind of going through those dark times. So hopefully maybe something that Chelsea can follow on towards as well. But I'm delighted to be joined by Sam Dalling, Newcastle season ticket holder. Sam, thanks for coming, mate. This season, this must have exceeded your expectations, surely. I mean, obviously, you know, Eddie Howe came in, guided you away from relegation to a mid-table finish last season, but surely you weren't expecting Newcastle to get Champions League football this season, or were you?
Look, Charlie, thank you very much. Lovely introduction, by the way. It's unusual, particularly these days, that someone says anything nice about Newcastle. So it's nice to hear you say you think we deserve it. Look, we're the complete opposite to you. I know you'll be desperate for the season to end. I would love to box this season up, or bottle it up, I think is the phrase, isn't it? And just keep it going forever. It's always nice to be asked to look back, and you don't have to look back that far. I'm thinking... So my better half is a Watford fan, and we went to Newcastle Watford last January, and it felt like a must-win game. Like if we just lost to Cambridge in the FA Cup, right? And you're thinking if we don't get anything against these sides around us, we've got no chance. And we're 1-0 up, and 89 minutes comes, and João Pedro, who's now gone to Brighton, puts a header in, and it probably saved our weekend in terms of the tension between myself and my better half. But walking down those steps, like I've suffered a couple of relegations before, and it doesn't get any easier. And it just felt, having had the euphoria of the takeover, that was it. We had no chance. You just couldn't see where it was coming from. And so, yeah, to be sat here now with a game to go, knowing that we'll be playing in the Champions League next season, like it just, I didn't expect it. I don't think anyone really expected it. Eddie Howe, who is very pragmatic, quite hard to read when he's talking to the press. He has finally opened up a little bit and said, look, he's always said throughout the season, we had our own internal goals, but we're not going to share them with you. And now he's come out and said, like, this is ahead of the plan. And it's just wonderful. Like the idea, I get goosebumps thinking about it. Going to watch, I was too young to go and watch Newcastle abroad previously in the Champions League, but I heard some wonderful stories. There was a night in Milan where we drew to all that's like people talk about it as like the best night of their lives. So it exceeded expectations, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, mate. Obviously, no European football for us next season, but surely a fantastic journey awaiting Newcastle in next season's Champions League. Obviously, you know, you've had the takeover. Obviously, got a lot of money, Saudi-backed regime in charge at St James's Park now. But one thing that's impressed me is that the club, whether it's Eddie Howe, whether it's the recruitment department, Dan Ashworth, the board themselves as well, like they haven't gone mad and just splashed the cash. I think the recruitment's been very carefully done, and it's followed a very set plan, a clear plan that's obviously working. Has that impressed you as well? Because you often see in takeovers, clubs can just go mad, spend loads of money. Obviously, us under Roman, albeit 20 odd years ago, very different. They've spent a lot of money, even under Todd Bowley now as well. We've thrown a lot of money at it. Man City, when they first got the takeover, threw a lot of money at it as well. You impressed with how Newcastle have gone about the recruitment as well? Because a lot of it's been good.
Yeah, it's been exceptional. And it's something we're not used to as well. Years of neglect, years of basically, I think, what would happen, we'd get to transfer deadline day and we'd send out a load of faxes and just hope that someone replied, or to be honest, Mike Ashley was probably hoping they all said no. And then we'd get a statement a day or two later saying, we tried, we couldn't get it over the line. Sorry, maybe next time. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend Newcastle haven't spent money, because obviously they have. You know, we've bought in a 65 million quid striker. But I think some context is required. The idea of what you pay now for just, and I use in inverted commas, the term generic Premier League player, right? If you want someone who's probably middle of the range, reliable, you kind of, I don't know, Ford Fiesta of the Premier League. That's going to cost you 30 million quid this year, these days. So you've got to look at it in that context. And we had years where we didn't spend any money. So we are almost playing catch up with the squad. And the players, the players he brought in, people like, this is a team that's qualified for the Champions League. With Dan Burn playing at left back. Isak has been brilliant. And yes, he costs an awful lot of money. But Botman's come in. And you've seen, how many times have we seen centre-backs come from foreign leagues who are like, oh, they've won the league, aren't they brilliant? And completely failed. Newcastle have seen it a few times. We've had the likes of Boomsong and Bemba, people like that. They've look rubbish and gone. Botman looks Rolls Royce. Trippier is, for 11 million quid or whatever we paid for him, just brilliant business. Like even Nick Pope, like he's a relegated goalkeeper. You look at the cost we put that back five together for. It's less than a lot of the sides we're in and around are paid for a centre half. And then
it's probably less than we paid for Wesley Fofana last summer, I'd imagine.
He was the example I was thinking of. I don't know exactly, but you think Cher, right? Steve Bruce didn't fancy Cher. He was on his way out. Now, Cher probably won't be a starting centre-back next year. Like, there's no hiding the fact we will pay money. Likewise, Dan Burn, Nick Pope. So Botman's the most expensive. He's probably cost about half of Fofana, and the rest, you're probably right, including the goalkeeper, have been put together for the same money, like altogether. And then Bruno in the middle. Yeah, he was a 30 million pound player.
What a player by the way. He's phenomenal.
I think he's still got some improvement to come as well. There's times, but I tell you who I would compare him a little bit. I watched your game last night. We're recording the day after the Manchester United game. Enzo Fernandez, the player who is
last night, yeah,
he was brilliant. And Bruno is those players are when the defender have got the ball and they come short and they can give it to them under pressure and they don't care and they always escape with the ball. And that's what you get with a player like Bruno. So yeah, it's been exceptional. There's barely been any failures really. I mean, even Chris Wood, bought him, scored a couple of goals, moved away from Burnley, shifted him on for 15 million. So that's cost you 10 million quid now. You'd have bitten people's hands off for that at the start.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I look at Newcastle. I think they've been superb all season. Some of the football's been fantastic. A lot of goals in their side, and the way that Eddie Howe's got that team to gel. As you said, Dan Burn sort of not particularly fancied at Brighton massively. Local Geordie lad, tall. He's playing at left back, and he looks like he's played there kind of all his career. Like everything's kind of fallen into place, and everything's looking really good. And that's a sign of a team that when if players aren't available, whoever comes in does a job, and that's a sign that something's working really well. And that's a massive credit to Eddie Howe, who I don't think gets as much praise as he does deserve. Obviously, Graham Potter, who we had, him and Howe were kind of the next sort of big things off the sort of the taxi rank in terms of English coaches. Howe's really enhanced his reputation, while obviously Potter's has taken quite a severe denting. But I look at things like he's done with Joelinton, for example, reinventing him into midfield. Joelinton come and he was like 40 million quid, I think, under Rafa Benitez or something. Only ever seemed to score at Spurs away. Looked terrible, by the way. No, I don't think there's any denying that. Suddenly, he's reinvented himself in this midfield role, and he's almost indispensable to that Newcastle side. How impressed have you been with sort of the reinvention of him and kind of like how he's put that difficult start behind him?
It's just a wonderful story. Like, he was the laughing stock. You have those players where they're like the running joke. And because we were so bad, it's a bit like gallows humor. You've just got to accept it. And it was like, Joelinton gets a chance and he's fallen over. If you go on YouTube, you'll find compilations of that. I was at actually that. You brought back one good memory. That Spurs away game. It was the August bank holiday. He just signed. I think Bruce might have been manager. And Ben Stokes that afternoon scored that massive 100 against the Aussies at Headingley with Jack Leach, one not out for the cricket fans. So I watched that. It finished about 3:30. Joelinton scores in the sunshine. You think, here we go. Here's our 40 million quid striker. We won 1-0. But yeah, he was genuinely dreadful. And now you're right. And he's probably not. Well, in fact, he isn't going to play on Sunday because he's injured. But he is without him, we function just completely differently. He's this midfield destroyer. He's bulked up, right? If you see photos of him with his top off, he's an Adonis, right? He is so strong. Him and Bruno are so close off the pitch. I think the best man at his wedding style kind of closeness. He just finds his way out of tight corners. He's in on a tackle. He does not stop running. And actually, in recent weeks, when Maxi got injured, Sam Maximan a few months ago, Joelinton started playing on the left a bit, on the left of a front three. And we'd had that. It's kind of Howe's way of almost protecting Byrne at left back, having a more defensive minded player left forward as opposed to Sam Maximan, who's a bit more of a maverick. But Joelinton started scoring goals as well. He started making the runs you were expecting of a wide forward that cost 40 million quid. The one thing I would say is in his defence was he was played as a number 9 when he arrived at Newcastle, but he never played that position at all previously. So he was immediately played out of position in a new league, in what people say the toughest league in the world is. Yeah, I met him at the train station the other week. He walked in and I just went, oh my God. And my girlfriend said, what's happened? If all the trains been cancelled? I was like, no. Joelinton's just walked in. I was a wreck. But yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. Before we move on to the game briefly, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Anthony Gordon. Obviously, a player that Chelsea were heavily linked with for 60 million quid not so long ago. Last summer, there were a lot of rumours doing the rounds that he could be coming to Stamford Bridge. I'm kind of glad that it didn't happen. He's obviously ended up with you boys at Newcastle, 45 million quid in January. He's a young kid still. I think it's a little bit harsh to be too kind of critical of him, but a lot of people have said attitude issues, etc. We saw I know you're frustrated when you come up, obviously, the bit of the meltdown away at Brentford. He's not really cemented his place in the team. What have your thoughts been on Gordon? And do you think next season Eddie Howe can get more out of him?
Oh, there's definitely more to come. Going back to the recruitment point, right? Just trust it. Like if Eddie Howe and that recruitment team see something in him, then it is worthwhile pursuing. Again, what I was saying about that £30 million price point, for a young English player, it's not. It is. I feel weird saying it's not much money. It is a lot of money, but in the context of it, he's shown, and sorry to use the obvious one, flashes of brilliance. Yeah. He came on against Man United and looked really good. He beat them at home, and he kind of changed the game. He's quicker than you'd think. He's got quick feet. He's taller than you think as well, and I think that's going to be a kind of theme in Newcastle's recruitment. I don't think we'll be signing many 5'5" diminutive playmakers. They're all going to be big units. This is going to be a powerful physical side. It's so early days. Yes, he's probably slightly underwhelmed, but I'm certainly not writing him off, and I really don't want to criticize him. I think there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just looking ahead to recruitment quickly, obviously Conor Gallagher for us has been linked with the move to Newcastle. Could potentially be sold this summer. We need to raise money. We need to make space in our squad. Is that a player that you think would work well under Eddie Howe? Is that someone that you think could be a good player for Newcastle potentially?
I saw him last night. I wasn't that impressed by him. I've not seen loads of him. I think, given that we're going to look for utility players at times that can fill in different positions, I suspect Gallagher could probably play 10 wide forward and across that midfield free. Like, I would back. There is obviously a player in there, and like you said, you're going to have to basically choose who you actually want in your squad and be quite ruthless and get rid of the rest. I wouldn't be disappointed if Gallagher signed. Again, I'd back Howe, Tyndall and the coaches to get the very best out of him. There's obviously talent there.
There definitely is, but as I said, unfortunately, we're in a position where some players that we might not want to get rid of are going to have to, and unfortunately, the young English lads from the academy are going to be the ones that get the biggest fees. So I expect a few of those to leave. Moving to the game on Sunday, then. Everyone's beating us at the moment. There's no secret there. I expect that to continue as well in this game. You must be feeling pretty confident. Had a superb season. We're shocking, probably the worst team in the league form-wise for quite a while now. Should be an easy 3 points, right?
You're setting me up there. No, because it is still hard, right? After 20 years, how long have I had my season ticket? 17, 18 years now, where so used to us being shit and it falling apart. And anything good happens, you're like, well, I'm just waiting for it to fall apart. So I'm still struggling to get out of that mindset. But to be honest, Sunday, Pope's out, Joelinton's out. I wouldn't be surprised. There's like Bruno's been playing on one ankle for about 3 or 4 months. Maybe he'll play through it. I don't know. If I was Eddie Howe, I'd have had Bruno straight onto that operation table the morning after the Leicester game. I'm I've been to the bridge loads of times and not seen us get anything in the league. I missed the Pape Cisse wonder goal
Oh yeah,
season. I
yeah,
did.
that
They were.
was good.
I went. I had a choice, right? I had Wigan away or Chelsea away. Wigan away was 4 days earlier.
Yeah,
Because it was midweek, I went for Wigan. We got back. We were 4-0 down at half time at Wigan.
Jesus.
And my phone battery ran out before we left the ground at the end. I did see us winning the League Cup. Niall Rangers scored, I think, and Shona scored. We were in the
Nile Ranger, Jesus, yeah.
yeah. There's a name. We were in the Championship at the time, and you were champions, I think, of the Premier League. Anyway, I'm not that confident. I'd take a draw, but to be honest, I don't really care. Like it's just one.
You've done the job now, haven't you? You've qualified for the Champions League. It doesn't really matter.
It's not like third or fourth matters because it's all straight into it. It's just the last away day of the season is always fun. It's just going to be a celebration in the sunshine. And for once, the football, it'd be lovely to win. And I do care a little bit, but I'm just going to have a cracking time watching Newcastle. And that, to say that from where we were 15 months ago is just gives me goosebumps.
Nah, for sure. It's definitely a great position to be in. And for us, that final whistle on Sunday cannot come soon enough. Last thing, mate, score prediction. What are you thinking?
Oh, let's go for a fun one, right? We, having had 10 or 11 clean sheets in a row, we really struggle to keep them now. I think Leicester was our first one in ages.
We didn't score many goals, though, so you should be all right.
Yeah, you're low on confidence. You should have had a couple in the first half against Manchester United.
Should have done.
You can see a team low on confidence. Let's say we'll have a nice day out together, 2-2. We'll all be smiling at the end. You'll be smiling because you're delighted it's finished. We'll be smiling because we're in the Champions League, and we can all go home happy.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good day to me. I mean, a draw will feel like a win for us because we lost so many this season. So I'd more than take that. Sam, thanks so much for your time, mate. Massively appreciate it. If people want to kind of check out more of your work and stuff like you've had to say, where's the best place for them to go?
Oh, well, so I'm a podcaster and a writer at True Faith, one of the main Newcastle fanzine podcasts, really. I also do a bit of freelance stuff, writing about football and cricket. So I'm on at Sam J Dalling, Dalling. I very rarely have anything interesting to say, though, to be honest. So get yourselves onto the True Faith if you want to find the best Newcastle content.
Yeah, guys, make sure you check that out. I'll link it all in the description below. Please do go and give it a listen. Sam, once again, thanks so much for your time, guys. I'll catch you in another video again soon.